Vladimir Putin greeting Kim Jongun, the North Korean leader, at a cosmodrome in Russia's Far East near Vladivostok. Kim Jongun had arrived by armoured train in the country and then arrived by limousine, and Putin shook hands with him at the cosmodrome at Vostochny. But what are these talks going to be about? It is very, very rare for the North Korean leader to leave his country. In fact, Vladimir Putin doesn't leave his country much anymore either. Let's talk about this with Dr. Stephen Hall. He's assistant professor in Russian and post-Soviet politics at the University of Bath. Good morning to you, Stephen.
Good morning, Julia.
Thanks for joining us. And now, a lot of talk about this is that this is about an arms deal, some sort of deal where Russia's going to get hold of North Korean armaments, possibly originally supplied by China to help in their efforts in Ukraine. Is that what you expect to happen?
I think certainly that's part of the deal where they're meeting at Vostochny, the cosmodrome in Russia, that the hope is, at least from what I've been reading, that definitely North Korea will be able to provide Russia with artillery shells for its war in Ukraine. And even if you believe the Z Patriots, the hope is that 200,000 North Korean soldiers will visit Ukraine as well indefinitely. So that is certainly the hope, that North Korea has a lot of weaponry, a lot of armaments, and that it can support Russia. On the other hand, Russia is also trying to sweeten the pill, as it were, by giving the North Korean satellite technology and potentially missile technology as well, for them to be able to reach America if they want to do such a thing. So this is what the deal is pretty much about.
Well, I mean, again, the implications of this for Ukrainian people and indeed for the West generally are concerning. I'm wondering the implications for China as well. That meeting, we're told, ended some 10 minutes ago. That face-to-face meeting's over. That's what the Russian state news agency TASS is reporting. But before those talks commenced, Kim Jong-un told reporters that North Korea will make bilateral ties with Russia, quote, its #1 priority. So we will prioritise the North Korea-Russian relationship and put it as our #1 priority of our foreign policy from now on. I wonder what President Xi Jinping of China makes of that, given that pretty much the North Korean economy is only sustained as such as it exists by the Chinese.
Well, certainly, from my understanding of North Korean politics, which is not massively large, China is a key ally to North Korea. So the idea that they are talking about having Russia is the primary ally of North Korea, I think it's almost like similar to China, Xi Jinping and Putin's talk of their special relationship without borders, that sort of thing. That relationship, I think it's more about dignitaries, ambassadorial talk rather than actually anything that's going to be concrete. North Korea is always going to be reliant on China, and because China's economy is so much bigger than Russia's, it can provide so much more than Russia can.
Well, the key thing is, I mean, North Korea doesn't have many friends. Vladimir Putin, Russia doesn't have very many friends. China plays an absolutely crucial role, not just an economic but a military superpower as well. How worried should we be in the West? How worried should the people of Ukraine be? North Korea providing this weaponry, and talk again that it could be weaponry coming via North Korea, but actually originally from China. How worried would they be? Because, this is let's face it, it's a basket case country. Something like 20+% of their people are at starvation levels. It's non-functioning in many ways, but it is a totalitarian state that has nuclear weapons, and therefore we've let it continue. But should we be concerned about those weapon supplies?
I think we should be concerned about any weapons supply that helps the Russian war machine. North Korea has an awful lot of munitions in terms of artillery. A lot of it is based on Soviet models and therefore can be used in Russian artillery. This is, of course, a big problem. If China was to then also supply North Korea with its weapons, which would end up on the fields of eastern Ukraine, then that is also a big problem as well. So I think naturally we should be worried, but this all remains the case of, is this going to happen? That's still unknown. We're waiting to hear what will happen. And it hopefully would spur America and the West onto supporting Ukraine to even greater levels than they have done already.
Can I also ask you, just finally, Vladimir Putin has claimed that Britain was behind the attack on the Russian nuclear plant, and accused Britain of underestimating the possible consequences of that. This is Zaporizhzhia. I mean, Britain gets blamed for a lot of this, either America or Britain, but Britain in particular is definitely in the sights of Vladimir Putin. How seriously should we take those claims?
I don't think we should take them too seriously at all. It is very much the part of Russian propaganda that the world is controlled by the Anglo-Saxons.
If only.
If only. I mean, it is one of the positives, I think, to this war, as terrible as that sounds, that Britain has been given a far bigger role than it actually probably deserves in terms of manipulating the world. So I think that these are certainly just Russian propaganda, using the Anglo-Saxon mantra that they are supporting Ukraine, and the Ukrainians don't have any action themselves, any agency. It is the Americans and the British controlling the Ukrainian puppet.